You know, I really didn't want to go through all of the details of this really long story from the New York Times about Hillary Clinton and uranium, while you still have Democrats running around saying, Trump, Russia, Trump, Russia, Trump, Russia. And the media backlash is coming. It's happening right now. You have a writer named Brett Ahrens writing for Market Watch. Odd place to place this, but okay. Headline, opinion. Trump spreads more fake news on Hillary's uranium deal. Now, Trump tweeted about this the other night. And I'm not going to say I was the only one. But let's just say I was one of the earliest to get on this story about Hillary, Russia, and uranium. And you all remember the reset button, and you all remember Barack Obama on the hot mic to Dmitry Medvedev saying, look, you know, I'll have more latitude after the election. And he said, I'll take that back to Vladimir. So the writer says, President Trump, there's a very good reason Congress isn't investigating Hillary Clinton's big uranium deal with Russia. It's because the story is absolute crap, as you well know. No, Hillary Clinton didn't sell America's uranium. She didn't own it or control it and never had. The entire accusation is farce. A farce. In 2010, the stockholders of a Canadian mining company, Uranium One, accepted a bid from the Russian nuclear energy agency, Rosatom. A majority of their shares they cashed out. Uranium One was a worldwide producer. Among its assets were some U.S. uranium mines. The decision was taken by pension fund managers, other institutional investors, and private investors from Canada, the U.S., Europe, and elsewhere. The deal had previously been approved by company management and independent directors on the board. Oh, well, that makes it entirely legit. If this is what's known as private property, commerce, and capitalism, Trump should read up on it. The burden of proof for a U.S. government official to intervene in a Canadian stock market transaction would have to be pretty high. No, Hillary didn't approve the sale either. She was just one of 14, count them, 14 people who sat on a U.S. government committee that might, in theory, have intervened but didn't. Hold on a second. First of all, that's not true. The Secretary of State does, in fact, have to sign off on what's known as a strategic asset transfer. Feel free to fact check me, Google it, have fun with yourself. The Secretary of State was actually key in all of this. But as far as saying Hillary sold our uranium, no one should take that literally. But the New York Times had a sprawling piece on April 23rd, 2015, so approximately 2 years ago. The headline is Cash Flow to Clinton Foundation Amid Russian Uranium Deal. Of that 14, now I know Mr. Ahrens, even though I tweeted at him, is probably not sitting by, maybe he is sitting by the radio. Some of these writers are very egotistical if they think you're talking about them. Of the 14 people whose signatures were necessary, Hillary's was the most important, and she's the only one that got tens of millions of dollars pushed her way before her signature. Cash flowed to the Clinton Foundation amid Russian uranium deal. The deal made Rosatom one of the largest uranium producers and brought Mr. Putin close into his goal of controlling much of the global uranium supply chain. You mean she did something that benefited Vladimir Putin, and for that Vladimir Putin wanted her to lose the election? You know what Democrats never point out when they talk about Russian influence? Did Russian influence give Barack Obama the Democratic nomination? She was beatable by a first-term senator with a funny name that nobody ever heard of. So she got beaten early on in the primary contest of 2008. She was out by South Carolina. Did the Russians do that? Anyway, But the untold story behind that story is one that involves not just the Russian president, but also a former American president and the woman who would like to be the next one. At the heart of the tale are several men, leaders of the Canadian mining industry who had been major donors to the charitable endeavors of the former president Bill Clinton and his family. Members of that group built and financed and eventually sold off to the Russians a company that would be known as Uranium One. Now, originally it was called Eurasia Mining. Beyond mines in Kazakhstan that are among the most lucrative in the world, the sale gave the Russians control of 1/5 of all uranium production capacity inside the United States. Excuse me? That's American uranium. This is the New York Times. Anybody, I'm going to stop right here to give you time to ramp up. You have to clear the phones until we get Democrats. Anyone want to start the fake news ball rolling now? You want to do this? You want to do this? Because I'm reading directly from the New York Times. So if you want to do the fake news thing, get 1-866-95-PATRIOT, 957-2874. It's right there on your Sirius XM radio. You get ready to tell me that I'm lying and this is fake news. You ready? Go ahead. Get your cell phone out. Because here comes the next line. Since uranium is considered a strategic asset with implications for national security, the deal had to be approved of by a committee composed of representatives from a number of U.S. government agencies. Among the agencies that eventually signed off was the State Department, then headed by Mr. Clinton's wife, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Now, the money was huge. One donation came from Frank Gistra, one of the heads of the company, $31.3 million. Shortly after the company was transferred to Russia, the bank that was handling the shares gave Bill Clinton a $500,000 speaking fee. Or let me just read it from the New York Times so you get the full gist of this. Mr. Clinton received a $500,000 speaking fee from a Russian bank with links to the Kremlin that was promoting the Uranium One stock. The Kremlin? Ooh. Who runs the Kremlin? Oh, Vladimir Putin. Want to tell me about that Jared Kushner banking thing? Now, the New York Times goes even further. Whether the donations played any role in the approval of the uranium deal is unknown, but the episode underscores the special ethical challenges presented by the Clinton Foundation, headed by a former president who relied heavily on foreign cash to accumulate $250 million in assets, even as his wife helped steer American foreign policy as Secretary of State, presiding over decisions with the potential to benefit foundation donors. Oh. Now, the $31+ million that I just read to you is only one of the donations. They actually go on and list all of the donations that go on and on and on and on. And it comes to about $35 million. $1 million here, $2 million there. A little over $35 million. Now, I can't read the entire article to you. You could read it for yourself. But this story, much like the Donald Trump wiretapping story, didn't come from some random blog or conspiracy theory. Again, this is the New York Times. I noticed that Joe Becker and Mike McIntyre, the two writers, have never, ever, ever been interviewed about this. At least not that I've seen. Just like the wiretapping story that appeared on the eve of the inauguration by Michael S. Schmidt. Nobody's ever dragged that guy out and been like, so if this is a lie, do you retract the story? If this is a lie, Mr. Ahrens, or I should say it's crap, as you put it, then let's get together with Mike McIntyre and Joe Becker, and you tell them that their reporting for the New York Times is crap. You want to know why Hillary Clinton lost the election? This is one of the reasons. The Clintons took in over $35 million. And then she signed off on a deal that gave over 1/5 of all uranium production inside the United States to Vladimir Putin. Is that fake news? You want to put that up on Twitter? The New York Times is telling you that Russia now controls the lion's share of the world's uranium. You know what you can make with uranium? Nuclear weapons. Is that uranium on its way to China? North Korea? Venezuela? You know, tiny countries that aren't a threat at all? Who knows? Who knows who they're selling the uranium to? Is it in Syria? Saudi Arabia? Egypt? We don't know. With the stroke of a pen, Hillary Clinton turned Vladimir Putin into the world's uranium baron. That is a fact, unless you want to challenge the New York Times. Go ahead. There it is. I'm using their reporting, just as I used their reporting about the story on the eve of the inauguration. And if Congress is not interested in this, then Donald Trump has to make them interested in this. Hillary Clinton didn't lose the election because of Russian hacking. There's been no Russian hacking. You want to say foreign influence? Foreign influence? Are we supposed to believe that foreign influence started in November of 2016? Foreign influence has been there forever. Hell, the Washington Post makes money running foreign influence. But what about Russia Today? Nobody watches that crap. Nobody. Again, the kind of people, for the most part, that open up a newspaper and read these inserts from foreign governments are the same people that send $1,000 to someone who claims to be a Nigerian prince, that when they come to the United States, if you put $1,000 in this account, I'll give you $10 million when I get there. That's the same person. And there's not enough of those people to sway an election. It's because Hillary Clinton was a lousy candidate. She was insular, arrogant. There were stories that they began shutting down their operation weeks in advance of the election because they thought they had it in the bag. She couldn't answer questions about her husband's past that the media wasn't interested in 25 years ago, but thanks to new media, people wanted to know, did you rape all those women? What difference does it make? But as long as this article is available online, read it, save it, make sure you archive it. So when somebody says, this big lie, it's crap, it's crap, it's crap what these people are saying, you could say, oh no, it's not crap. It's in the New York Times. Weinzig 695, Patriot 957-2874. Say it with me. We are right. They are wrong. That is the end of the story. The arguments on this radio program cannot, will not, will never, ever, ever, ever be broken. Sirius XM Patriot.